Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff.
Hey guys, I'm Maureen.
I'm Jeanette.
I'm Tiffany.
And we are here with Bridgerton Talk finally. I know this came out in March and you guys are getting it a little later than that, but we wanted to make sure that we had all the goods for you. So we're talking episodes 1 and 2 tonight only, just 1 and 2. And so you'll get 4 episodes of Bridgerton. But today we are talking the opening scene and first and second episode. I forgot actually how much I like the music, the theme song.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed they only play it in the first episode.
I know.
They don't play it in the rest because I accidentally hit skip intro and I was like, oh wait, I want to hear the song again. And so I would let the other ones play through and it didn't play through again. So I had to go back and watch the first episode just for that song. But anyway, the first episode starts at the beginning of the season and our fan favorite from last season, Eloise, is finally being introduced firmly against her will.
That opening scene with Eloise, I mean, it was just so funny. Everybody's standing outside the door waiting on her. And then finally, when they open the door, I mean, all the maids are like rushing out of there. So
they all look like they're about to cry.
They've been through it. And she comes out with that big old like feather on her head, which I think looks so ridiculous. But I remember Daphne wore that too. I don't know. It was just so funny. And I mean, but she's total opposite of Daphne. Daphne looks so elegant and proud in it. And Eloise just looks annoyed and just like,
awkward.
I don't want to do this at all.
Then she say, if any of you say a single word, and she just storms past them.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed that I don't think was the case in the first season when Daphne had her debut. All of the women in this debut had the same dress.
Yeah, they didn't do that last season like that.
I don't
so I'm not crazy, right? It was all the same dress?
Yeah. No.
It looks like it.
They all had the same pattern right here and the same pattern on the sleeves, and then they all had the headdress in this season.
Well, and Daphne's feather, she didn't even wear it wasn't to her debut. It was when the night that the prince was going to propose to her, correct? Like
I don't
it was
that.
like later that she had that big feather in her head. It wasn't her first
You're right.
debut.
Because
maybe
all the
it's
women
all because of Daphne. Maybe they've all adopted it because she was the diamond and she was so wonderful. I don't know.
That's why. Because I think the backs of the dress did not look the same, but the bodices on all the dresses look the exact same.
Yeah. Well, since there's only like one, I guess now there's 2 Modis in town. I mean, I guess it would make sense that they could all look the same. Now there's second one. Sorry, I don't know if that's in these episodes. Here I am with spoilers already. But so they go to see the queen, which I don't know, that was just hilarious. And like, I mean, Eloise is just not wanting to do this.
No.
But I'm loving how through all of it, Violet's just so proud looking. Like just, don't care if Eloise is having a good time or not. She's proud and she's living in her moment, which is just funny. But
and I love that she thinks
smile on her face.
I love that she thinks that Eloise is most concerned that she won't be the diamond, that she'll disappoint the queen. And Violet's interpretation of that is, you'll always be a diamond to me. I don't think she cares much about that. Pretty sure she doesn't want to be the diamond. I think her fear is the opposite of that. So your words do not help her at all.
Right.
They make her a little scared. But I love all the excuses Eloise is coming up with too. My allergies. Can't you just tell her that something happened to my allergies? And I something got in my dress. All these weird random things that she tried to get out of it. I do love and appreciate how neurotic Eloise is all the time now.
Yes, I do like that. But of course, Ken saves the day with her like lady whistledown coming out at the exact, which I was like, that was good timing that you knew exactly when poor Eloise was going to have to be presented. But and then as soon as the queen's like, everybody's, can we leave now? And Eloise is like out of there, like as quick as can be, and
poor Violet
like trying to stop her and was like, oh no, yeah.
Violet through clenched teeth and a forced smile. I don't know what this means.
But I mean, Eloise, poor girl, she fought it the whole way. I mean, at the first ball when someone tries to ask her to dance, she's like, oh, my dance card's full, knowing it's all like fake names. Like
not even one real name on there.
Nope.
But that was Daphne's advice. Make sure your dance card is filled with all the right names.
Not quite, I think, how Daphne meant it.
No.
But
No.
And she mistakenly impressed the queen.
She did.
By talking about emeralds.
That was funny.
When the queen starts laughing, the look on everyone's face is just like shocked. Like, I don't know what's happening here. Well, is she upset? Is she happy? Like, what did we do? But no, she thought Eloise was funny. So I think she liked her.
The other portrayal that you see that's good in this is Cowper. She is just as hateable in the show as she is in the books.
Yes.
Like, I hate her.
I feel like she's worse in the books even.
Yes. She's the light meaner.
Which is like hard to believe, but yes, she's terrible.
But I like when she goes up to Eloise and says that she has an opening her group, and Eloise just shouts super loud, "I would rather die." I thought there was going to be more to it, but that was it. She just walked away.
Die. The look on Pen's face is sort of shocked, but then like it was kind of funny at the same time. Like, okay. But I love how Penn like kind of supports Eloise in this, because we know that she wants to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they're always sneaking away because Eloise wants nothing to do with it. And I do think it's a little crazy that Eloise is so blind to the fact that like Penn's not the same as you. Like, she wants this. I mean, she eventually figures it out, but like here you've just assumed like we're just gonna be old mates together and it's fine and this is great, like, well, it's not what she wants.
And I like that Eloise allows her to be honest about it, because it's not that it just so happens that no one wants her.
Right.
It's not that she doesn't like it, but she would love to be wanted. She would love to be married. She would love to do all this stuff. And she even says in the second episode, when Eloise is reading Lady Whistledown again, and they're in the Bridgerton house, and Violet encourages Penn to help her get Eloise on board. And Eloise is talking about basically how she could never marry someone. She could never find someone that she could love like that. And Penn's trying to tell her, you could though. And it's okay to do that. Penn was saying that she would like to get married, but she just can't. Where Eloise is saying, no, I have no desire to get married.
Want to. Yeah.
And that's after she finds out how Penn feels about it too. So she might figure out in episode 1 that Penn feels that way, but she doesn't really alter how she treats Penn or how she interacts with Penn about the stuff. It's one thing to be honest about yourself and what you want, but to kind of shove that on someone else who doesn't feel the same is kind of mean a little bit.
Like Eloise last season, I loved her, and I still like her. I mean, I don't dislike Eloise. I still like her. I like her spunk. I think she's hilarious. Yeah. Like, she makes me laugh. But she is so like tunnel vision with like what she wants, and she just thinks that like everyone else is wrong if they don't really want these. I mean, she just can't believe that Penn would. I don't know. It bothers me that she's kind of oblivious.
Yeah.
To the people around her, because she did that kind of a little bit last season with Daphne. I mean, Daphne wanted this, and it was almost like she made fun of it, like, which isn't really fair. I mean, just because you don't want it doesn't mean that it's not okay that someone else does want this.
Yeah.
And
on top of like thinking other people are wrong, she thinks that if they don't have a difference of opinion with her, or if they don't voice it, then naturally they must agree with me. Naturally they're okay that I obsess over this, because this is what they want to. It has to be what they want to, because it's what I want.
She's still on her Whistledown kick too. Like, I mean, at the horse races, but I am impressed by her like investigative skills, because I mean, she figures out that this paper is the same weight and exactly the same, and poor Penn is panicking like, oh, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. She notices the K is exactly the same in another one. Like, I mean, she's keeping Penelope on her toes, like with this, like trying to figure. I don't know. I was impressed.
She needs to be a detective.
Yeah. And it's crazy because she had those same skills last season, but she couldn't figure out anything. And now this season, she actually likes Lady Whistledown less, wants to be less involved with her, and now she's figuring out more. Yeah. She likes her less.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that the pamphlet she finds is, what is it? How to pick up after untidying your dog or something like that. And then we see when they're going to, in episode 2, when they're going to Lady Danbury's soiree, Violet is asking Colin if he has any friends who are into dog grooming that might be available. And Johnny's like, are you feeling well? But and Eloise is like, no, she's not at all. She's not very well at all.
That's fine. I don't even think I caught that. That's hilarious though.
Violet just wants her to make a match so bad. She thought she finally found the one thing that Eloise liked that would set her apart from other women.
Oh, I know. I hate that for Violet. Like, I mean, she just wants all of her children to just be as happy as she was with her husband. And I don't know. It makes me sad for her.
And plus, I mean, then, especially for the girls, that was how you lived.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a job. You couldn't support yourself. Yeah, you could be a governess, but you would be low on the totem pole of society. And Eloise might say that she doesn't care about society, but she's only ever lived in society. So
yeah, I'm sure she's happy with the things that she has,
exactly
the way she's accustomed to living,
the status, the money. Once that goes away, you're going to be miserable. And Violet is aware of that. And Violet is aware of what society does to women in that time period. So for her to have so many girls, the desperate need. I mean, Jane Austen wrote in Pride and Prejudice about the mother in there, how she was neurotic about finding her 5 daughters a husband. And when she's called out on it by Elizabeth Bennet, she says, you have 5 daughters, and then tell me what you would do. You would react the exact same. Because poor Violet, they think that she's just this matchmaking nosy woman, but for her sons, she just wants them to experience the joy that she had. For her daughter, she wants to make sure they're protected.
And I mean, they should be thankful, because I mean, a lot of these moms are just pushing these girls off on whoever. I mean, she wants them to find love and to be happy. And so I don't know. It bothers me how they just sort of almost, Eloise almost pokes fun at her, which bugs me, you know?
Yeah. I will say though that the really young lord who Violet entertains the idea of Eloise being with, maybe a smidge too young.
Yeah, was he the one that wanted to play marbles with Gregory and Hyacinth? Yeah.
And that was when Eloise looked at her mom and said,
can I go down?
Can I be excused now? That was also the one who approached her at the ball, and Benedict immediately said, sister, come with me, let's get some refreshments, and led her away immediately. So
he's at least intuitive. He knew, like, she's not going to want to dance with him. I mean, especially, like, why would you pick somebody young? Because I mean, as intellectual as Eloise is, like,
she'll murder that kid's confidence every moment of every day.
Yeah.
It'll be really miserable and unhappy. So one thing she does complain about though is that Lady Whistledown could do so much more, and she's not. She's just simply repeating what she hears. And that used to excite her.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, and we'll never see it because it happened in the interim. So theoretically, this change happened when they were in the country. So I'm curious what made that change happen very suddenly. Because, I mean, Eloise has always liked to read books. She's always been intellectual, but all of a sudden, it's Lady Whistledown was not enough for her.
Well, I think it was surprising to Penelope too, because she was just like, I thought you liked, you know. So yeah, it was interesting that it was such a turn so quickly.
Yeah. And I know that she made mention the market of how she thought she would miss Whistledown, but she didn't. And she had time to pursue other writings on the sex. But I guess maybe a big part of my issue is comparing her to the book Eloise.
Yeah, because book Eloise isn't, like, that's what I was saying in the chat earlier. Like, I mean, she's still against, you know, marriage and all this, but she's not so radical. Like, she's not so, like, it's different. Like, I mean, this one, like, she goes, you know, to check out the print shop, and then she meets Theo, and then he introduces her to that group for the women's rights. I mean, that wouldn't have been book Eloise. So I think that's definitely, I struggle, and I need to quit comparing her to book Eloise, but it's hard.
And I think it's hard even to compare to last season's Eloise too, because she was different last season. It's not that, because it's not like Lady Whistledown just repeats gossip. Like, she's got wit, and she pokes fun at the very things that Eloise pokes fun at. She mocks them openly. And that's why Eloise was drawn to, because it was the same things that she had issues with society that Lady Whistledown took issues with. And so Eloise appreciated that wit, and she appreciated that mockery. And this season is like, no, you're not smart enough anymore, because I've read other things, and just, I don't know, it felt weird.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. I mean, like I said, I still like Eloise. She still makes me laugh. I love her sass and all that, but I don't like her as much as I did last season.
I agree with that. I like too, like, the actress who plays Eloise, she has the best facial expressions.
She does.
I love it. Every time she's annoyed with something, the look on her face makes me laugh out loud every single time. I love it. I would really like to talk with her.
I would love that.
Did anyone else think that something was going to happen with her and the footman when the footman brought her to the print shop?
I did.
Yes.
I mean,
what is that?
Yeah. And then we met Theo. I don't know. I felt like there was like something there. I did. There was like chemistry, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, Theo's fine too, I guess.
But I felt more between her and that footman than I did with her and Theo.
Me too.
And we only got there for like one scene.
Me too. I thought for sure we were going to pursue that, and I was here for it. But well.
Not only was he trying to protect her by saying, maybe we should do this, I'll give you all your money back, but then he also follows her out to keep her protected, and he's invested in what she's saying. And like when she accosts Theo and says, why else do you think we're here? Because the footman was like, that's why we're here? No idea.
I had no idea why they
just
were there.
follows her where she was telling him to go. But it's when Theo is, so for those of you who are watching this for a recap, Theo, it works at the print shop that the Whistledown papers are printed at. And so Eloise convinces the footman to take her there, the Bridgerton footman to take her there, and she accosts him. And he finds out that he's actually has in those. I like how she approaches him. What's in those boxes? What are those papers? Why do you think anybody's going to give you that information? Like,
I don't know.
It's not like you're the queen who's come with your royal guard to ask him what this is.
Right? I mean, he has no idea who you are. Like, why would he tell you anything? Yeah.
So what it is it's a pamphlet on women's rights, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he mocks her for her desire to know who Whistledown is. And I think that might be the bigger changing point for her. That I think that's the connection they're trying to make, that Theo bringing that up to her and kind of mocking her in her frivolity. And I think that's why she pushed to move towards the women's rights stuff a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of funny that she's so against like relationships and all this, and then some guy sort of mocks you, and that makes you want to change. So that's just sort of an interesting like parallel there. Like, I don't know, maybe you're not so different than these other girls as you thought.
Exactly.
You know? So she's not the only one though trying to track down Whistledown. I mean, the queen is determined to figure out who she is.
I love the queen.
I do too.
She is just as good this year as she was last year. She's so quirky, and she's so
she's so like, she's terrible, but like in the best way possible. Yes. Like, it's, I don't know how to explain. I still love her, even
and
though we
can't say like all the points that she shows her soft spots because it's later on in the season, but we can compare it to last season when we saw our soft spots whenever the king would come out and she'd be transformed, and you know that she really does have a heart, but she's just, the way her marriage deteriorated and the way her husband went insane, that she had to kind of block it off. Yeah. So she became,
and she's got, you know, without him around, I mean, this is all on her plate. So she just has so much, I think, so much image to keep up. I mean, it's just,
I liked her zebras.
I like when she said to Lady Danbury, "Let me show you where I house my elephant."
Yes, she's got an elephant too.
Now, she said she was trying to think of names for all of them, but after 15 children, she's run out of creativity. Was she talking about her own children, or the zebras had 15 children? She ran out of creativity.
I think she meant her children.
I think she meant hers.
She has 15 children?
I know. I was confused by that too.
Because that would add a whole new layer of fun to this if we started meeting them.
I think so. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
We've never met any of them. How old are they? Are there some that are still small? Are they all grown? Like,
exactly.
We've only heard about one of them, right?
I don't think we've heard about any of them.
Well, they mentioned the king's
daughter.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
last season.
It wasn't her daughter.
But I don't know. Maybe it was her daughter. I don't know.
Maybe.
Because
that's the only one I ever heard.
More than one wife. But the wives shouldn't have had more than one husband, which is completely sexist and stupid, but it's what it is. So I thought it was because it was one of his stupors last season when he accused her of killing his daughter or taking away his child. It was when he had come to dinner, and then he started to lose it real fast. And then she had to have him dragged out of the dining room.
That's right.
But I like when she's talking to, she and Lady Danbury, actually it's really more the queen, as they're walking through the palace, realize that Lady Whistledown must be one of them because she hasn't written all in the off season. So obviously she went to the country with the rest of them. So they're looking for someone among the peerage, which honestly, I thought that was discussed last season. Towards the end, I thought that's one of the things Eloise thought of, because at first Eloise thought it was a servant, but then I thought Eloise was like, no, it can't be a servant.
Yeah. Yeah, it was discussed.
But maybe she didn't share that the queen. I don't know.
Maybe not.
Maybe she didn't.
I thought she did, because I thought that's how they I don't know. I thought they did, but maybe not. It's been a while since I've seen season 1.
Maybe I should have watched season 1 before I just jumped right into season 2.
No, I couldn't. I can, and I mean, people are going to kill me here. I don't think I can ever go back and watch season 1 now. It just doesn't compare to this season. It does not compare, in my opinion.
I feel like this season had one thing that the season had that last season didn't, and you brought this up in the chat, is that it was more of like all about the relationships of the entire ensemble cast, whereas last season it focused on the Duke and it focused on Simon and Daphne. There were other relationship aspects sprinkled in, but I feel like they tried to be more equal on all of them, but it was supposed to be about the Viscount.
Which that part I didn't like. I wanted it to just be about the Viscount, but
I really don't think we got enough of them, honestly.
No, not. But the good thing is with that is like, whereas like Simon or Daphne's in the future books, Simon's really not. Kate and Anthony both are present in several books, so we should still see plenty of them for all the way through. Because I mean, they're the Viscount and Viscountess. I mean, they're the head of the family, so We get to see them, so they
And
should
I
be
think
sticking around.
in the book, the difference there, and the reason why I liked it in the book better than the show is because in the book they got together sooner, so we got more of them. But in the show, they didn't get together until the very last minute, so we weren't able to get much of them. So I think that's the difference there.
Now Tiffany needs to read the book.
Like that.
You got to do it, man. You'll get so much more of them. Good stuff.
It sounds like the book was better.
The other thing I like about this is this season, it seems, I know that it's always been about bright colors and the music and all that, but it feels like this season was more vibrant visually. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but it was like florals were more everywhere and the dresses were more like Kate's jewel tone dresses were so beautiful on her. So crazy beautiful. I know.
My goodness, that woman is like beyond gorgeous.
I
Like,
know. But
I
even
loved everything about her.
even with the queen, like I felt like her colors popped more on her too. And like, especially she's always worn the weird wigs, which are one of my favorite aspects about her character, the crazy wigs. But I feel like there's more colors to her wigs now. Even there was pink, we saw purple, we saw white. The white ones are my favorite.
There was a blue one. I think,
oh yeah, there was
in
a blue one.
episode 2. When we saw the zebras. It was blue.
It matched her Cinderella dress. So I just feel like the colors were more there.
Last season, like the Featheringtons were like colorful, but everyone else was more like
demure.
Yeah. This season it's like everyone looks like it's colorful. So
and it's crazy because in the first episode, as we talked about, it starts off with the debutante with all of them wearing the exact same dress in the exact same cream color. And then it goes from there to just be like a color explosion. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I like that that Juan, the queen, is immediately enthralled with Lady Whistledown when it comes with Eloise. And she's instantly shuts it all down. But also when Kate and Edwina come there, how she's hoodwinking Edwina.
So clever.
And she's being so kind and she just seems so effusive. And wow, you're really looking out for me. You really care about me. And Lady Danbury immediately is like, nope, no, wait,
that's not
stop. You go, let me talk to the queen. And there's something that happens later in the season that I won't bring out that we need to remember this conversation by, because Lady Danbury says, is that why you chose her as your diamond? And she said, yes, I chose her because she was brand new and I could trust her because she was new. And we need to remember that situation for a couple seasons or a couple episodes from now, because that comes back.
It's right here.
But she does end up naming Edwina as the diamond of the season. Obviously, I just said that, but she ends up naming her that. And it was the way that whole thing happened when Eloise charmed her with the emerald thing and they're walking away in Pennant goes, Eloise is the diamond. Who will you marry then, brother? I love Benedict. I love him. I love him. I love him. He made me laugh so many times in this season.
He's so funny. Like, I'm so angry. And I know this, like, I'm so angry that we hear that we're moving past him into Colin's season next season. I'm upset because we need more Benedict, but
honestly, I think that they could still pull out the Colin Penn thing for a while. That could, I mean,
we need to like him more first.
Yes,
because now he's,
but you won't until they're together.
He's in the books. The books made me like him less, actually.
Yeah.
So I like show Colin better than I like Colin in the books, because Colin in the book, his book, he was a jerk.
He is. Once they're finally together,
even then sometimes
well, I haven't read really any books past then, so I don't know what he's like in future books. Like
that was the last book I read was Colin.
I need to send you Eloise because I'm just going to skip it. They're changing her up so much, I'm not even going to bother. Like, I've moved on to Francesca, so I need to send you Eloise. Really.
So what did you think of, because the queen was upset with Lady Mary, because the one thing she said when Lady Danbury reintroduced Lady Mary to the queen, she said something about how if you had paid your queen the respect and said goodbye before you left, like, was she really that close to the queen?
I think the queen was just being the queen and just being kind of, just
because nobility found somewhere else to go.
Yeah. And maybe because she didn't know about it until after it already happened. And we know that she doesn't like to not be in the know of stuff. So.
And Mary did seem really, really scared when she had to go meet the queen.
Well, Lady Danbury points out too that clearly Kate, it wasn't Mary who wanted to come back here. She doesn't want to be here at all. It was all you, which she's not wrong about. But, and I love The other thing I love about how I keep wanting to call her Pen, and I'm going to call her Lady Whistledown just for the sake of being clear, that she taunts the queen more openly this season. Last season, it was Lady Whistledown's paper was about the gossip and creating funny and mocking. And this season, it seemed to be she had an extra grind with the queen.
Yeah.
And I felt like every episode she was like, why would you bring that? Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, like, we're definitely drawing attention, like,
because clearly the queen is out for blood now. And you don't dare. And so, I mean, already you should have known that about the queen, that nobody speaks down to the queen. Not even if you're in her inner circle, you don't get to speak down to her at all.
No.
You bow to her at every area, at every turn. And so for Penn to call, or Lady Whistledown to call out the queen and challenge her on several different occasions, that's what sparks the queen to call Edwina the Diamond and to get her to unwittingly work with her and tell her everyone who she talks to. The way she words it is very threatening when she says, and if anyone does try to spread lies or talk to you about things, you let them come to me and I'll decide if they're worth. Like the way she said it was so ominous.
I don't know. I thought that was a really clever way of trying to like, dig that out.
I really liked it. But I think that's one of the reasons I like the queen so much though, is because she's the only one who can pull it off. And she can be so ominous with the smile. And you find yourself like, yes, absolutely. I agree with that. When you walk away, like, wait, what? What did I just agree to? But she's charming in her authority, and she's unabashedly, it's my way or no way, and get in line or get out. And I really, really, really like that about the queen. And she's the same as she was last season. I love it. So because she's trying to unveil Lady Whistledown, Penelope is running into some problems, and she has to mask herself, who she is, to hide from certainly now the queen, who she's made a very big enemy of.
I like that we got to hear her actual accent.
I love her Irish accent. I love watching interviews with Nicola, because I just like hearing her talk.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun little touch for her to get to use her real accent when talking to them.
She's all business though. Like when she goes in there.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, she's not even negotiating. Like she was straight up telling them it's gonna be this way and you're gonna take this deal.
I love seeing that side of her because it's so opposite of what she portrays herself when she has to be, when she's Penelope. But like, I love seeing her take charge. I'm like, this is who we need to see. Yeah.
Yeah. I really grew to fall in love with Penelope even more this season, just because of her attitude, her demeanor. She just took charge of situations.
Yeah. She seemed a little more frightful this season though, when she was as Penelope.
As Penelope, yeah.
Maybe that's why she was so forceful as Lady Whistledown's assistant.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just, I don't know. She gets to show that side of herself that she's not able to show anywhere else.
Yeah, she seems like she really just can't be herself around
anybody.
I mean, not even
Eloise now.
Yeah, feel sorry, and especially not Colin. Like her and Colin,
he sending her mixed messages, man.
I know that he's like, what was he told her? When he said, "You're a pen, you don't count."
That was so mean.
I know he didn't.
He didn't mean it mean, but it was so mean.
But how is he so oblivious that like? How is her best friend so oblivious that she's got this huge crush on her brother? Like, it's another where we just see Eloise is only about Eloise. Yeah. Like she notices nothing else, and it's so frustrating.
She's definitely got tunnel vision on herself.
And when Colin says you don't say you don't count to anybody. Like that's not. There is in no way that can be construed as a compliment. What he should have said is, "You're pen. You're my friend." That would have been different, but your pen, you don't count. Long pause, you're my friend. Like, and on top of that, I mean, the way he was looking at her when he first came back, I would have thought he was into me.
Yep.
The way he looked at her a few times throughout the season, honestly.
Yes.
And even what he said to her in that conversation, when he was saying that he found himself, I said, I just needed to see myself the way you see me.
Mhm.
Hello?
He's an idiot.
You blind?
Yes.
I seriously wanted to just
Mhm.
smack him. He's making me mad this season.
I do like that Benedict mocks him so openly though. Because when he first came in, he's like, we need to bring you to the doctors. You got something on your face.
It's Benedict, man. I just love how I don't know. He's so great.
Like in the books, and even last season, it was like Colin was the best brother. He was the happiest brother. He was the funniest brother. But isn't that Benedict?
Yeah, it definitely is.
He seems more happy than anybody else all the time.
Oh, he's always happy.
Laughs much quicker than anybody else. And he pays attention to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Penelope because obviously she's trying to get these articles out, but Eloise doesn't even when she in that first ball, I think it was Lady Danbury's ball, the first one where Kate and Edwina were announced or were introduced, whatever, and she's back there talking or listening to the servants. Eloise comes back there, and those two gentlemen come out there and they're talking to Eloise, and Penn is actively talking to them and making jokes and making references, and nothing. Eloise doesn't even pay attention. Eloise doesn't even notice that she's talking. And then when she's going out to deliver her paper, and Eloise stops her and says, look, the best thing about this is you and I can always run away together. We'll never be alone. And this is, it's after Penn had said, I like this stuff. She's
not concerned with anybody else. It drives me nuts.
And Penelope is and that's part of the reason why the last episode of the season ticks me off so much, is because Penelope does nothing but look out for those she loves.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks that the Bridgertons love her, but they don't really see her.
I know.
Except for, I think Violet does.
I think she does, yeah.
But I don't think, and even her best friend doesn't see her. And that goes back to last season when Penelope was going through hard times and Eloise wouldn't stop thinking about Whistledown, and Penn lost it on her one time. And Eloise was like, I'm done. I'm going to walk away. You're so offensive. But Eloise is constantly exploding on Penn. Even in this episode, or even the first two episodes we see here, Eloise is constantly like saying things that are so cavalier and mean, and Penelope just takes it.
I don't know. It's definitely one-sided in a lot of ways.
And I have no doubt that Eloise loves Penn. I don't doubt that, but I think that they don't really know Penn because they don't care enough to make her known. It's just, well, that's Penn. She's always here. She's nice to us. We're friendly.
Yeah. I did like, and that is one good thing about Edwina. Like there was a scene where she says to Penn, like, I love your dress. And Penn was like, thought she was mocking her. And she was like, no. And I think that's a transition that Edwina from the book is true as she is in the show, that she just truly is a really nice person. I mean, both the Sharma sisters are. But I like that. I don't know. Yeah. She was just complimenting her. She was like, no, I'm not making fun of you. Like, I like it.
And she says that it has more to do with the person wearing it than what the gown actually looks like, or something like that.
Yeah.
I really liked Edwina the first half of the season.
Yeah. Same.
And then we see Penn when she ran into Genevieve on the other side of town. I thought that was going to be like a really bad situation.
Yeah. If she would have stayed and said something to her instead of immediately turning and running.
Yeah, just ran off like, nope, you never saw me. I wasn't here.
Probably wouldn't have been a big deal.
Obviously, she's seen you enough times that she's going to recognize you. Right. So you turning around and running doesn't help. Like, no.
She's going to remember weird. And then she's going to start thinking of all the things that were weird instead of just because then she's going to pick up on the clothes, on the way she was talking, and the way she was acting, and what she was doing, and where she was. Where if she would have just stopped and talked to her like a normal human being, and been like, oh, that was weird. Okay, I'm going to move on.
I mean, we know she she writes her letters and does all that stuff. Surely you could have just come up with something you were down there buying. Like, something your mom didn't want you to, so you came. I mean, come on. You could have made up a story.
She's a writer.
Exactly.
It should have been that hard.
And we have our leading lady and our leading man, Anthony and Kate, right away. Instant connection I saw between those two. The first meeting. I fell in love with them the second they entered the screen.
Their chemistry was just absolutely insane. Like, even better than I could have hoped for, I think. It was perfect casting for Kate, and it was wonderful. That the opening scene, like where they meet, that's not in the books either, but I loved that part.
How did they meet in the books? What was it?
It's just at the dance. Like, I think Colin introduces them because like they're at one of the balls and Colin meets them first.
Oh, yeah.
And introduces like Anthony and probably Benedict too to them. So this was much more fun. Like he sees her, and he sees her out riding a horse. He just assumes that she's like in trouble because, this woman, here she is, like, racing through there on a horse, and she's like not in trouble. She's just fine on her own, except for she is lost, which she didn't realize at first. She was going the wrong way. But it just sets up like the whole tone of their competitiveness and the spark that they have. And you can see like at the end of that scene when she's like riding away, just the smile on his face. I mean, like,
and on hers.
We've never seen that smile on Anthony's face, not like that, so it's exciting.
Even after she makes that first jump to get away from him, he has that smile on his face.
He's impressed. Like, this is, he's wanting to find a wife, but he's not going to fall in love because that's just, not who he is. He's being way too practical about the whole thing with his checklist and his interviews, which cracked me up anyways.
Oh my gosh, those interviews were so funny.
I loved it.
I love the harpist.
Say to his mom, I have interviews set up with women. I thought he was joking or just using the term interviews. Nope, he's actually interviewing these poor women.
There were two favorites I had, and the one was when he was walking with the first woman, and he's like, "Have you given any thought to how many children you would like?" 3, 4. I mean 5. No, 6.
Like, she's just searching for the right answer. Like,
and the harpist, and he's like, "Do you read books?
Books?
What
else
would you read?"
Oh my gosh.
And then there was the one who was so proud that she made hats, and then her mom pops up from beside her
with the hat on. I know, I'm just like, oh. But I mean, you see he's not taking it very seriously though, because here he is, he's interviewing these women, mark them all off, but then he's having other encounters with other women that he's paying for these encounters because we keep seeing him drop off coins. So I mean, I don't know. It's just, it fits like Anthony where we left him off last season. Like, this is where he is. He expects to never fall in love. He's just looking for the perfect Viscountess, I guess.
I don't think he expects to fall in love. I think he's working to not fall in love.
Oh yeah, he doesn't want to. Like, I mean, and see, they don't explain why. I still don't feel like they don't dive as deep as they do in the book.
No, they don't.
Like,
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
But they do discuss it, but we're just not going to discuss that in these first 2 episodes.
Okay, we'll scratch that then. And Violet made me laugh so hard when I get to that first ball, and she's like so loud with the whole, this is the season the Viscount is going to find a wife, and he's like, did you really just do that?
I believe I just did.
Everybody's head just turns. I'm like, excuse me.
Looks like he's signing autographs
instantly around him.
So funny.
I do like when Kate spies him dancing, and she's watching him from around the room. And the one that she sees him dancing is the woman who's continuously screwing up the dance moves and steps. And Anthony's just getting more and more irritated, but he's still doing the dance until he just walks off the dance floor.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he doesn't even bow to her. He just counts. Like, or scratch that name off the list, right? What does she say? She much prefers a quadrille or something.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, that was one of the ones doing the interview. That was when we saw the bevy of interviews, but this one was another one who she wasn't stepping on him, she just kept forgetting dance moves, and he had to keep directing her to move the right way.
Yeah. But then Kate overhears him talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, foot in your mouth, like talking to these guys. I can't remember his exact words. I should have wrote it down, but I mean, basically, like she said, I mean, he's treating it. I mean, we see he's treating it like some sort of business transaction. And I think the part when she said something about that they would, there would be no problem with them wanting him when he was talking to those guys. I mean, just how arrogant can you be, Anthony? Like, come on.
He was being arrogant, but he was also being honest.
It's true.
Because he is the most, next to the Duke, he would have been the most eligible bachelor.
Yeah. I would have been happy to be chosen, so it's okay.
And we see, it's kind of an echo to the first scene we see with Anthony when he's in the carriage with Benedict and Gregory. When he's going over what he wants in a wife, he's like, shouldn't be that hard. I just need someone who is, what does he say, who has good standing, who has hips that are good enough for childbearing and has half a brain. That last one is not a requirement, but preference.
I love that in that scene, even Gregory is looking at him like you're an idiot. And this is like a child that understands that this is not how you need to go about this.
And I love that Benedict completely eggs him on with it.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's all he ever does. I love it.
So this is a more blunt and vocal version of that, where he's around guys who want his family and he's just saying it like it is. Yeah. And of course, Kate has to kick over that random bucket that's in Lady Danbury's backyard.
Yeah.
That gardener should be fired.
I liked in that conversation too, when she says something about like, you know, all you need is something in a pleasing smile. He's like, oh, so you find my smile pleasing. I mean, here I am like, oh, you know, I mean, my gosh, she's so good with the flirt. I'm like, how is she like keeping a straight face when he says these things to her? Because I wouldn't.
I don't think she does all the time.
No, she doesn't. She does better job at hiding it than I would. I mean, I would be puddle on the floor. Like, there's no way.
She reverts to like when he says those things, sometimes she'll like cock her head to the back and she'll look irritated by it, but she's stopped speaking for a couple of seconds there before she picks up again. So yeah, she's clearly not unaffected by it.
Yeah, she's definitely affected by it. But yeah, I mean, Anthony rushes up there once Edwina's announced as the diamond, doesn't he? Like, I mean, just pushes all the other guys out of the way, you know? So he can make sure he has the first dance with her. Which Kate is not happy about once she realizes.
No. Yeah. But Edwina is very excited about it.
Yes.
We see this a little later, like when she, right before, it's in the second episode. It's towards the beginning. It's when you hear the voiceover Lady Whistledown saying that anyone who has to go through this has to go through this particular monster of a beast, also known as her sister, whatever. But she has a list of all the acceptable gentlemen. And Viscount Bridgerton is not on the list.
No.
And Lady Danbury brings this up. Did you forget him? And Mary brings up, well, that's exactly what Edwina wants, is someone like the Viscount. Isn't that right? So it's there's that juxtaposition where that's, and Anthony brings it up to Kate when he brings the horse for Edwina. He says, isn't it possible that you're saying these are all the things that you don't want, but what about, isn't it more possible that it's more about what she wants than what you want?
Yeah.
I want her, not you. Oh, that's clearly not true.
Clearly not true. But neither one of them have admitted this at this point. So.
And at this ball, at this soiree where at Lady Danbury's first soiree in episode 1, the moment she sees Anthony, Kate says, I know him. You wouldn't have just randomly shouted that if you weren't affected by him.
Yeah. She has to change her tune because Lady Danbury's like, you shouldn't know him.
Yeah.
How would you know him? But I mean, just the way those two, like, I mean, I don't know how people didn't get it. Every scene they are in together, like they cannot stop staring at each other. Every single scene. And it's like, how do you not notice? Like, how do you not notice that, like, they obviously, I mean, at the very least, you should see that they're attracted to each other.
Yeah. And there's not really a reason why you should be that passionately angry at someone you don't know anything about, unless there's some sort of sexual tension there.
Yes. And there was lots of that.
Even at the races when they were sitting next to each other. And I like, first of all, I don't know if Kate realized she was doing this, but when she said there's plenty of room, that just meant she had to sit super close to Anthony, like crazy close. And the way he was looking at her when she was whistling and the way she was jumping up and coming back at him. Edwina and what's his name? Duster?
I don't know.
Something with the D.
He's unimportant at this point. He's unimportant.
But he and Edwina even go back and talk to each other and say, should we separate them? Like there's something there.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite scenes. Just their interaction, just how like she's like schooling him on like which horse is going to win. And he's just so, you can see it, he's so annoyed, but so impressed by her at the same time.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And that's what he was hoping to avoid with someone who would be challenging. And I think that he kind of thought if she's the diamond, she's going to be frivolous, and that'll be, if she can be smart, but she's not going to be challenged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kate was a challenge. And that's what Anthony craves, is a challenge. I do like how she schools them in front of all those suitors too. The day after they announce that she's the diamond. That long line of men there. And Anthony, she's all ready to agree with him when he speaks up that you have to wait your turn. And she's like, absolutely, Lord. and she sees it's him and she's not happy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's just like when he went to dance with Edwina, he just thinks he can just pass everybody else by because he's the Viscount. She's not going to have that. Like, no, you're not doing it. So
I have to say, I like random guy number 2 in that line. he was the second guy in line, and he kept going, yeah, back of the line, Bridgerton. I don't, every time I watched it, just made me laugh. I don't know if that's how he delivered the line, but it was so, I don't know, it was so bizarre, and I don't know.
I didn't even notice him.
She didn't, because Anthony was standing right there.
I noticed nothing else. And I mean, I know it's an obsession. Like I couldn't tell you anything about anybody else this season, really.
Let the audience and listeners know that in our group chat for our Bridgerton Facebook group, Jeanette has done nothing for the past, I don't know, since March 25th. So there's TikToks of Anthony Bridgerton and Jonathan Bailey. Really, it doesn't matter which one it is.
Yes, they're all the same at this point. Yeah. That's what I do.
But Kate, in that moment when he shows up there, Kate shuts him down pretty soundly, pretty loudly, and he's asking for dates for the next couple of days. And she's like, well, maybe December. And that's why he resorted. Dorset, that's his name, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Dorset. And that's why Anthony arranged for Dorset to distract Kate at the races so he could spend time with Edwina.
And that didn't go over well when Kate found out. I mean,
how did that play out in his head?
I guess he assumed that maybe Dorset wouldn't actually tell her, instead of he slipped up and talked about him at Oxford, you know. But I do think, I mean, like Dorset was actually interested in Kate. I think he was, you know.
I kind of like Dorset, actually.
Well, I mean, I liked him too, but he's no Anthony. I need to stop saying it like that. It's Anthony.
Yeah,
I'm saying it the American way. I need to say it the British way, which was Anthony, right?
But I think he'll make her a good friend.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's it, right? The soiree though, that was so funny, guys. Like, I mean, I was cracking up at like these men being ridiculous, and then of course,
my favorite comment was Eloise's when that one guy came up there and she just went, "What?" That was it. That was all she said, and the look on her face was sheer disgust.
Yeah, it
was the guy who was like spinning a ring on a string.
Well, there was another one that was like
the dancer.
What Penn was asking, like, to Colin, like, did you come to like
hoops? Watch the men jump through these hoops.
We actually do have some hoop rolling. Like, I mean, like somebody actually came through doing that. Like, it was just the funniest thing ever.
I love Anthony's conversation with Benedict too, though. It's like, Benedict, I need you. I'm in the midst of a conversation outside now. And it just
Benedict went out there and he just like a good brother, you know.
That whole exchange. He says, I need you to teach me how to read this and sound good. And then he starts reading it and Benedict just starts laughing. So,
and it gives us a little glimpse of Benedict too, of how easily he started spouting that off. And it was like,
and that was off the top of his head. He wasn't even reciting a poem. He was just saying what poetry was. And it was so beautiful and eloquent and passionate that Anthony was like, write that down. Yeah. And he did. He wrote it down.
Yeah, I have a question, because I wasn't sure at first, like the first time I watched this, when Anthony is reading that and he decides to crumble it up, I thought, okay, that was part of his plan all along. But then I watched it the second time. I'm like, was it, or was that really him just speaking? Like, I couldn't decide if this was like,
I think he felt so ridiculous looking around the room and seeing all of the men who were preening peacocks that he was like, I can't. I think it was genuine. I can't do this. This is what I like it
better that it's genuine. The first time I watched it, I thought, oh, come on, Anthony, here you are. Just
honestly, I think it was more for Kate's benefit than Edwina's. I think he was pleading his case to Kate.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it worked because Edwina was like melting after he said all that.
Everybody was melting.
Everybody was.
Even the Featherington sister, who was like,
yes.
Even Jeanette at her home was like,
Oh, I was doing that quite often. Well, when I tell you, like, there were moments that I like stopped breathing for a minute. I did. I quit breathing, which, by the way, I commented that on TikTok. Like, somebody said I use those words, quit breathing. And I got like a little notification, because I guess you're not allowed to say that because it sounds like you're dying. Like, yeah, I got told like if I like made comments like that, like you could get like blocked. I'm like, I wasn't talking about actually stop breathing, guys. I was just talking about how hot he was. Like, I don't
That's
or not
ridiculous.
even him, just them together. But it was funny. Yeah, there were moments that I was like, whew, I had to catch my breath because I was like holding it, watching their scenes, like, oh my gosh.
And even within that scene, when he was pleading his case to Kate or to Edwina, whoever you want to say it was to, but when Kate hears that, something alters in her, and she's left staring after him, and then she runs into that butler, and Anthony looks so deeply concerned for her when she runs into that butler. And I loved the look on his face when he did that. And then when she came back in the room, the first thing that happened was Anthony looked right at her the moment she came back in that room. And he's standing with Edwina.
I mean, they weren't secretive about all of this all season. No. They were quite obvious, actually. And so how people didn't know, I'm just like, what? How are you not seeing this?
I mean, the looks he gave her literally every 10 seconds.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
How could you not see that?
But I don't know. Let's talk more about all of the Sharmas. Let's talk about Mary and Edwina. What did you all think of, I guess, them being introduced as our new family?
In the first 2 episodes, which I'm going to try to stick to.
That's what's hard, I know.
Okay, so you guys have to understand that all of us have watched all 8 episodes of this season. We're trying to only give you our opinion based on these 2 episodes, but we already know what's coming. So it's a little difficult to give our honest opinions here. But I mean, not honest opinions, but give you shortened versions of our opinions. But I do like the Sharmas. I think that it's clear in the first 2 episodes that Mary does not want to be there.
Right.
That Kate is pushing, that Edwina just like, I'm so happy to have a season kind of thing. But I don't, and again, this has to do because I read the book. I don't like how shallow they made Edwina. I think that even with everything that she does, she looks to her sister first, like almost like Tim. I know she did that in the books a bit, but
a little, but
not like this though. It was like everything. And then when it came to the conversation we talked about earlier, where Lady Danbury's like, "Oh, you left at the Viscount, say was that on purpose?" She says, Lord, whatever his name is, Rutledge, something, I don't know, not important. He doesn't last, but trust me, he will be enough for you. He will make the Viscount melt away. And Edwina's like, okay, but that's clearly not what she wants. Like she's not saying anything for herself.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm pointing this out is because this is going to come back in a very big way later on. And I want you to remember this, that Edwina was happy, more than happy to do whatever Kate said. And it's not like Kate was telling her to do something. Kate was advising her, and Edwina was taking everything she said to the letter and doing it.
Yeah.
That's on her. Kate didn't make her do that. Kate's just trying to be a good sister and advisor. And it's clear, we see in episode 2 or episode 1, I think, Lady Danbury reaches out to the Sheffields, who are Lady Mary's parents. Now, the background there is that Lady Mary married a shopkeeper when she was in the peerage. So she married way below her station, and then she left for India with him. Her parents disowned her because she married a shopkeeper. They wanted her to marry a lord or a duke or viscount or something of her station or above, and she didn't. So her grandparents disowned her, right? So Lady Danbury reaches out to them and asks them, what's the deal here? And then this is where we find out that the Sheffields had said, the only way that Kate or Edwina will receive any money if she marries an Englishman of nobility. Can't be anyone from India, it has to be an Englishman of nobility. And that's why Kate had the push to go there. Lady Danbury feels lied to, obviously, because she was a little bit. But that's why Kate is pushing so hard for this, because she's, even in this, I think that this comes up in a bad way later too, but Kate is desperately just trying to make sure they don't have money left. Right. They have nothing left. So this is again, we talked about this before, that in this time period, marriage for a woman was the only way you survived. Even if you were a governess, it was barely surviving because you were still at the mercy of someone else, and they could fire you like that for no reason whatsoever. It's not like there was a union. It's not like there was workers' protection then. There wasn't. So the only way for a woman to really survive is to get married. And that's why Kate is pushing for this. And I think that that's forgotten somewhere in the season. So I want to make sure that we point that out right away, that was Kate's goal, is to make sure that her sister is not just cared. I mean, she's looking for a love match.
Right.
When Lady Danbury says she needs to know, she says, it's because I know her, I won't tell her, because then she'll just marry the first guy who asks without falling in love, and she deserves love.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I say what you were going to say?
Yeah, you said what I was going to say. Surprise. And I had issues with Mary a little bit. And again, it's because I've read the book.
Mm-hmm.
Mary was so meek and so quiet and just this very reserved. It's not Mary in the books. I mean, Mary is, I feel like, I mean, even though she's not Kate's biological mother, you see a lot of similarities in them, and you see that Kate is a lot like her and that she's a strong woman. And they didn't portray that in the series, which kind of bothered me a little bit. I don't know.
She's kind of just letting Kate take over everything.
Yeah. I just didn't care for Edwina and Mary as much as I did in the books. I didn't dislike them in the series, but they were much stronger. Like they were Sheffield family in the book, but the whole Sheffield family was just, they were also likable. And also, like, I liked them a lot. And so it just it was a little bit of a letdown for me seeing those two characters. Kate lived up to her potential and exceeded it by far. But the other two were just, for me.
Remind me, in the book, did the grandparents set the same ultimatum for Edwina? Right? It was the
no,
same thing?
No. Because I think they weren't having any money troubles. They just came because it was time for Edwina to come. Because they weren't in India. They were just, that part wasn't part of it. So it was just time for Edwina to come out. And I guess just Kate had shown no interest prior to that. And so Kate was actually like, I feel like wasn't Mary trying to find her someone at the same time? Like,
in the books, yes.
Yeah, I was
and Edwina, Kate had to keep saying, no, we're not looking for me.
Right.
In the show, it was Lady Danbury was saying, for you.
Yeah.
And that's when Lady Danbury had that conversation with her that she finds it criminal against honesty or something like that she says she wants to be alone at 26. And Kate comes back with, well, you are. I watch you. You're happy. And I love Lady Danbury's comeback when she said, you are not me. I've lived, I've had children, I'm a widow. And until you smarten up, basically, you're never going to be me.
Yeah.
Because Kate is so honed in on, I'm going to go back to India. I'm going to do my own thing. I don't need a husband. I'm going to be perfectly happy in India because it has my tea and it has the things that I like there.
Yeah. And see, that was a little like, because I'm trying to remember in the books, I don't feel like it was, but like I said, her and Anthony get together so much quicker that we don't get to see a lot of this. But it wasn't that she was like against marriage. She just didn't really care. She was there to focus on Edwina. It wasn't like she was going to like push off anybody else that came her way. She was just focused on Edwina.
Yeah.
Whereas like she had no plans of moving off somewhere and being a governess. She was just, I mean, she was okay with being an old maid, but she wasn't like, that wasn't like her dead set goal.
Yeah.
Whereas if, I don't know, it was different. So I don't know. Ends my rant about the Sheffield Sharpness.
No, I think it's good. I think that because I think a lot of people watch Bridgerton because it was something that came out on Netflix, but a lot of people also watch. I think it's pretty divided between those who watch it without reading the books and those who watch it having read the books, and that's why they're watching. So I think there's a pretty even divide. I think it's good to talk about both of them in relation there.
There's a lot of people too that watched season 1 like me and then was like, oh my God, I have to get these books and read them all because that's not enough.
And I mean, I typically prefer books anyway because there's so much more detail in the books than what you can put on screen. So I kind of like that. But I do at the horse races with them. Anthony somehow convinces Dorset or the Lord, whatever, to go get a drink without even asking him to get up and get a drink.
Yeah.
Like this dude wants to impress Viscount Bridgerton so much when it's obvious that he wants to court Edwina. Like it's so blatantly obvious, not only because he's looking right at her and talking only to her, but since she was announced the Diamond, he's been at every event that Anthony's been at. He's clearly pursued her. So why would you want to impress the Bridgertons in that way, dude?
I don't know. And I do think he gets a clue when he comes back with the stuff and he realizes like, okay, like now you're kind of in my space. Or when Anthony says like, let's take a walk and I'll show you. He's like, horse. Excellent idea. Like, I think then he starts to realize like, okay, now I see what's going on.
Because even Anthony, like he looked up, he's like, I was going to call on you the other day. And Kate starts to say something. Anthony doesn't, he just talks right over her as she's talking, which had to infuriate her. And she's trying to say, Edwina's aware of everything. But he's like, but I had to breakfast with my family. We're very close. And then she looks around, oh, there's something so nice about a family. And Kate's trying to throw this Lord a bone. He's like, I imagine there are many nice families like that in the town. And then he says, not like the Bridgertons.
Yeah.
Dude. You shouldn't be with Edwina. You're a nice guy, but you're clearly stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not smart enough for her. And I do like how well versed we see that she is, because when we first meet them and Lady Danbury's examining them, we see that everything that Edwina knows how to do is because Kate has taken great pains to teach her. Kate made mention to Lady Danbury that she spent the past 8 years teaching her these things, watching her more than anyone else and critiquing her more than anybody else, because she wanted her to have that life. So she plays several instruments. She's well versed in languages, even in the Greek and Latin. She knows how to do all these dances. She knows how to do so many things and more than your average lady of the tongue knows how to do. And that's all thanks to Kate. Honestly, one of the things that Anthony says to Violet is, this woman is responsible for bringing my sisters out. Well, I think we just found someone who can do that successfully with your sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, Anthony doesn't hear her say all this stuff, but
right. But I think he should know, because he knows that Kate has like taken care of her, and I think he can see like that Edwina is so like such a well-rounded person. That, I mean, you think he could just assume that probably came from Kate, like taking care of her.
And I think I don't know that he stopped to listen to that so much, because typically it's the mom who does that. So I think they just assume, and that Kate is just being the one who is caring for her, protecting her, but hasn't been the one to teach her, maybe. But I don't know if how vocal she is, and how the one thing I didn't like too about how they portrayed Kate is there are times when, where Edwina blindly follows Kate's advice without even a second thought. But times like at the races, when she said, "We're leaving now," at the first ball, when she walked up to Lady Danbury and said, "We're leaving now. We're clearly not prepared." Like super rude departures that are very sudden, very forceful, and very possessive. And Edwina clearly doesn't want to obey them, but she does them anyway because she's Kate. And I wish that there was more of the camaraderie between them that there was in the books. And it's a power imbalance in the show, I think. And it's not bad. It just makes me have less respect for Edwina.
Well, and I mean, as it goes on, I know we won't talk about everything, but as it goes on, it's almost like Kate gets almost villainized. And I don't care for that.
No, because
that's not how it was either. Like, Edwina kind of followed her lead in the books and stuff, but she was with her 100% of the way. Like, it wasn't like it was this things. Yeah, I was gonna say, it wasn't like this authoritative like person that Kate was. No, they discussed things. Edwina was just, I think she just went with Kate because she wanted to make Kate happy, because she loved her. And I mean, it was just this sisterly, like, but it was less of a, I don't know, there was more conversation between the two of them. It was more equal.
Yeah.
They almost made Kate seem like her mother more than her sister.
Yeah. And her mom didn't seem like a mother at all in some aspects. And that wasn't the way it was in the books at all.
No.
And I in these first 2 episodes, I don't dislike Edwina.
No.
And I don't ever really dislike Mary. But Kate is made to be the head of that family. And that will come up later too. But that's the way it stands right now. And I just wish there was more like sisters than authoritarian.
Yeah.
Which would be nice. And it's interesting to say that, because then we have Lady Danbury, who clearly is the master of her own home. I love when she says to Violet, because Violet says, "It looks like we both have our hands full this season. Not if I have anything to say about it." And we both know I always have something to say.
Yes.
I mean, that character is brilliant. And I love that actress. Like, she just does Lady Danbury so well.
She's so good. I mean, I adore Lady Danbury.
I will admit I liked her better last year, but that's just because her relationship with the Queen this year kind of made her not as, like, she got nervous a couple times this year. I didn't dislike her at all, like at any point in time. But I think last year she was just so much more spunky. Yeah.
There was a couple moments, it's later, it's after stuff comes out, that I felt like her advice was off, in my opinion, and it bugged me. But I mean, that's it. I mean, I still love her. Like, but there were a couple times that I'm like, her advice that she gave Simon in season 1 versus the advice she gives them later on seemed complete polar opposites.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so that bugged me a little.
Yeah. That's all I think my favorite Lady Danbury moments were with Newton.
Not on my chair.
We did not get nearly enough Newton. No. I just need to throw that out there. Newton is a huge part of the book. He's wonderful and funny, and like his interactions with Anthony, I'm going to say this right from now on,
At least once.
Are like perfect. Like they're the best scenes in the book for the most part. I mean, like we didn't get enough Newton at all. So justice for Newton is what I'm saying.
I just loved her face when she first met him. No.
And then when Mary says, Kate, would you like to take Newton for a walk before he makes a mess on this carpet? Lady Danbury was not real pleased to hear that line of conversation at all. And I like at the soiree she had when they were all doing the poetry reading and the dancing guy was my favorite. But Lady Danbury trying to like end it, she's like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. And like every time she tried to clap and she would always go, oh, and then they would keep going and she'd have to stop. And then it was constant for everyone. I was like, it was so funny to watch her.
I like when she confronts Kate about riding her horses in the early morning. Like nothing gets past me in my house. She knows all that goes on.
There's the other thing too with that conversation, again, goes back to the conversation where Anthony was left off the list. Lady Danbury does bring up, because Kate's whole reason is he doesn't want a love match, and that's not for you. That's not what you want, Bon. And Lady Danbury points out, this has been what marriages are in the town, have been business arrangements, and they've been that way forever. It is the love match that's rare, and it's sufficed just fine to great success, I think she says. And so she's a little, it goes back to even in her when they first appeared at the first ball that Lady Danbury has. And Kate thinks she knows all she needs to know about all these eligible gentlemen. And Lady Danbury had to keep calling out on those things. Just because you do research that's available to you doesn't mean that you know everything. I live here. I'm a part of this sect. I'm immersed in these people's lives. I know what's good. And she had to call her out on, no, he flaunts his mistresses everywhere. Your research isn't going to do you any good other than how much money they have. And if you're really looking for a love match,
that doesn't matter.
That's not how you do it.
Yeah. But I like her and Violet kind of hatch their own little plan, because they kind of express that Kate's kind of giving them trouble because she needs a love match. We've heard that Anthony's doesn't want that, and Lady Danbury's like, well, maybe we can change her mind, and of course Violet, maybe he can change his too. So they're kind of working together here, trying to kind of like they did even last season, how they were eager to get Simon and Daphne together. So
I love Violet and Lady Danbury together.
Me too.
And the one thing that Lady Danbury said again, the reason she thought she was so immersed in Simon and Daphne is because Simon's her family, not by blood, but Simon's her family. And so she wanted what was good for him and what was loving. And she saw that he had that. In this situation, she's approaching it much the same. And she said, obviously, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself until I know what Edwina's thoughts are. But you should know Kate's going to be a problem for you if that's what Anthony wants. So she at first is waiting to throw support behind Anthony and Edwina until she knows if this is really what Edwina wants. But I think in episode 2, when Edwina and Mary both say, Edwina, he's who you want, isn't it? Lady Danbury starts to be like, okay, this is where we're going. This is what she wants, and I'm going to help her get it, because Lady Danbury's not opposed to love matches. She's just a realist.
Yeah.
And I don't think hers was a love match. I think that she probably ended up falling in love with her husband, but the way she talks about marriage, it didn't start off that way. And I think that was her point.
Yeah.
That was the great success, is that marriages often start as business arrangements, but that doesn't mean that love doesn't come eventually.
Yeah. I think probably, that happened a lot. You eventually grow to love someone in most cases, probably not all cases, but in a lot of them,
The new Lord Featherington is very odd.
It was a really smooth segue from Danbury to Featherington.
Sorry.
I'm going to say I'm the oddball out. Okay. So I like Cousin Jack.
I do too.
And I'm always going to call him Cousin Jack because it made me laugh so hard every time that one of the kids
what he asked you to call him?
And Portia's like, don't call him that, but I think he's funny, in just the way that he comes in and he is just throwing a wrench at every plan that Portia had.
Not everyone. He did pay the dowry.
I think at first though he is. He's at every turn she's like, what are we doing here? And everybody else likes him. Even what is her?
That's because
her maid's name?
He's not a bad guy.
No.
So they did say that Jack's, I couldn't remember his name for a second.
Cousin
Jack. They did say that his dad was a jerk because Portia mentions at one point, he's trying to punish us. He's a bad guy.
Well, and he supposedly is the reason that Jack was in America. He like shipped his son off to America.
But then we also hear in episode 2, Jack wants to turn the morning room into a gaming hell. So is this his way? Does he have a gambling problem? Is that why he is doing the things he's doing?
I don't know.
But I mean, maybe that's part of the reason he was sent to the Americas by his dad. His dad was a jerk. Apparently, we don't see his dad's dead. And he clearly has no love for his dad. But is the gambling why?
I mean, it could be. I mean, there's obviously something there. So,
and I did that gun thing that Tiffany brought up is obnoxiously gross. It's so ugly.
Especially when Penn's asking all these questions. Have you shot all of these, Cousin Jack? And I love, like, I don't know, just all of it. I thought he was a great addition. I know a lot of people don't like him. I've seen this all over the boards and stuff. Like, I think he's hilarious. And I think just the banter between him and Portia was just like the best.
And he's not doing anything wrong by anybody.
No.
He's coming there trying to do right. The first thing he did was pay for Philippa's diet, or not Philippa. What is the other one? Prudence. Pay the dowry to Finch. That was the first thing he did before he even met them.
Can we talk about for a minute before he got there? And when the Finches approached Portia at that ball, the death that's been unsettled. I mean, God, I love her. I know that I'm not supposed to like her either.
Can you not like Portia? She's only been a mother trying to protect her kids.
Yeah. She's so, with the way she just turned on those tears.
I like when she gets really overwhelmed, she does this thing.
Yes.
It reminds me of Anthony when he gets overwhelmed. He like does the scratch thing on his head.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah. Yeah.
But she did that then when she was like, even the Finches, it's been very, overwhelmed with grief. And she's looking up here, but then she's clearly like looking from them in a way. And they're so stupid. They don't catch on to it. And they have no bounds of propriety at all. Because he looks right at her and said, I told her, she looked at him, I told you it was too soon. You realize you're having this conversation in front of this woman, right?
Well, he replied back, well, you told me he wanted him out of the house. Like,
you have no decorum at all.
None.
Even
they just
if
want
she's
their money.
making it, you don't have this conversation there. But then when in episode 2 at Lady Danbury's soiree, and she sees that Lady Cowper, her Cressida, is wearing the jewelry that she overhears is from him, and she says, here's from the new Lord Featherington. Oh, and then she said, I wonder what it means. Probably nothing.
Can't mean much,
I love Portia. I loved her last season too. I thought she was badass last season. She was so good. And she was just she's tacky, but she's not a bad person because she's tacky. She just wears ugly things.
Yeah. I don't like how she treats Penelope.
No. Although, again, I will say she's better in the show than she is in the books.
Her whole family treats her like crap. Even her sister ratted her out to her mom when she called her, sold her letter to Colin.
Oh yeah, they're all awful. So I mean, how Penelope is such a nice person in the middle of that family, I'm not really sure.
Right.
Although in the books we've talked about the fourth sister, Felicity, was also great. So there was another one who was a nice person. There's a fourth sister in the books.
And in the show, really the only horrible, truly mean one is Philippa.
Yeah, because Prudence is just kind of dumb. Like she's
super dumb.
Yeah, she's just
she's crazy dumb. There's nothing. There's nothing up there at all. She can't even
You know what's so funny? They remind me of like the evil stepsisters from Cinderella, which is kind of funny because we're going to actually have evil stepsisters when we get to Benedict's book, because like they actually are based on because it's like a Cinderella story. So like, I mean, there's actual evil stepsisters.
And it's like she actually goes to the ball and dresses up.
It's a total Cinderella story. It's a ripoff. I don't even know how Julia Quinn was allowed to do that. To be honest, that's how much of a ripoff it is, but I love it. So,
there's even the point where she's polishing the shoes that she wore, and that's how the stepmother finds out that it was her involved, was from the shoes.
It's the same story, but it's great somehow. I don't know.
Because there's no magic, and there's been so many different Cinderella. I mean, even Jane Austen has been Clueless is a Jane Austen story. I don't know if you knew that, but I mean, like, there's so many times that story's been done. And I mean, there's even a movie called A Cinderella Story, and another Cinderella story, and yet another Cinderella story. Literally, I think the third title is.
But at least
yet
they're paying
Cinderella
homage to it with it in the name. Like, this is just
true.
An offer and a gentleman.
Straight up
like,
stealing it.
Or an offer from a gentleman. Like,
but I don't think that Portia is, I don't think she's awful though.
No.
I think that she's hard and like I said, tacky in terms of her wardrobe choices and the choices she makes for her daughters. Can we also talk about why Penelope is the only one who's still wearing yellow and everyone else can wear different colors?
I was wondering that too.
Like, they don't even have money for new modistes in episode 1 and 2. They don't have any money. Philippa says at one point, we don't have money for new dresses this season. And that's when they found out, because Portia or Penelope is like, if there's no money for dresses, she obviously has no money for her dowry. So they aren't shopping. So where did the pink and the purple and the blues come from? And why is Penelope the only one who has to continue wearing yellow and brown?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought about that too.
I have a question. What is the point of a dowry? Why do you have to pay someone to marry your daughter?
It's just the because the wife isn't going to be able to do anything for you, really. So it's an enticement to get you to show good faith that we are giving her this much money to be entered into your marriage, because they can't work, they can't do anything to bring monetarily to your relationship. So she's going to come in with an inheritance of sorts to provide for her share of the marriage. If you're
like it.
very rare, I mean, in really old cultures, the dowry was cows and goats. So, I mean, money is probably better than that.
Oh, maybe,
But I think that there was very rare instances where it was a love match and they would say, I don't need the dowry, or the dowry could be put in a trust specifically for the wife to use rather than using the husband's money. Some decent men would do that too. But it's just to show your standing, to make a better, because it was business deals. You married to better your finances and married to better your station. So the dowry was a status symbol to show that we're this successful, we have this much money. And not only do you get this and better your financial situation, but also you get this and your coffers aren't penalized at all for marrying my daughter. We're going to help build your coffers rather than a detriment. So Portia does have that plan too. And that's when she says, they're talking about the new Lord Featherington, and she says, we have to get you all married. And I don't maybe it's because I read Colin's book that has a deep dive into Penelope, but I don't think she means Penelope.
No, I don't think she does. Because I mean, we've never seen her even attempt to find a prospect for Penelope. So I don't think she has any plans of. I think she's simply just talking about Philippa there.
And the benefit there is that it's a gentleman's agreement. If we have people who are agreeing to marry you, he has to pay their dowries because it's a gentleman's agreement. So, and we see, I think we actually end with the Featheringtons in episode 2. I think we end with Prudence's marriage, don't we, to Finch?
The
last thing we see them.
At least somewhere towards the end of it. Yeah,
because Jack is in his office. Cousin Jack's in his office, and the Finches are wondering where he is, and Mrs. Finch, not very quietly, says, you did make sure that the dowry was paid, didn't you? Of course I made sure the dowry was paid. Oh my gosh, you people, they're already married.
Yeah, they're really worried about this.
This line of questioning is so inappropriate now, because you're screwed. It doesn't matter if he made sure it was paid, because the deed is done. You're not going to get a divorce. That doesn't happen then. So
no,
suck it up. And she goes into ask him to come out, and he's talking about how hard it is to make sense of Lord Featherington's bookkeepings. And I think we can take from that, and of course we know what comes up, but we can take just from that statement alone that there's about to be some trouble financially for the Featheringtons, because once he actually makes sense of Lord Featherington's bookkeepings, he's not going to be very happy.
Nope.
So I think that's as comprehensive as we can get for episode 1 and 2. I mean, we could tell you a lot more, but that would be diving into later episodes, and we're not going to do that. We're going to try real hard not to do that.
For being good.
So next time we're going to go over episode 3 and 4. Join us in our Bridgerton Facebook group. It's Bridgerton Family Fan Club. we have a spoiler ban that's fully done now, right? There's no more bars on it. It was 2-week spoiler ban. You can post anything you want from the new season. Come over there, discuss what you think. Let us know what you think of this and our breakdowns of the characters and our opinions of what have happened so far in the first 2 episodes. Obviously, if you've seen the rest, you kind of know why we have some of the thoughts we do. But if you haven't, you're trying to keep pace with us as we do these. Let us know your thoughts on this and what you think of what's going to happen or what you think of these relationships. We've got the Sharmas that are new. We've got some new dynamics between the Queen and Lady Danbury. We've got Anthony and Kate, which are obviously going to be a thing. And if you don't know that, spoiler alert. Kate and Anthony are a thing.
If you don't know that, like, watch episode 1 and 2 again because you missed something. So
very big. And we've got a new cousin Jack. Let us know what you think about cousin Jack. Are you for him? Are you anti him? Because I really do like his character actually. And that doesn't ever completely stop.
No, I still like him, even all the way
over time, but it doesn't completely stop. So let us know what you think about him. And check out, I don't know what's coming up next week. But stay tuned. Monday, we'll have something for you every Monday, Wednesday. Just keep watching our channel, watch our Facebook group, and you can find us on any of our socials. And that's it for this week. So bye guys.
Bye.
For our listeners craving more, you can search for all 16 of our groups on Facebook by searching Family Fan Club. Come on over and join the conversation. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok under Fandom Family Chats. We try to always make sure to have something that will entertain. Of course, we'd also love your feedback, the good and any bad. And you can provide that by emailing us at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our website coming soon, where you'll be able to buy FFC merch and merch about some of your favorite TV shows with some favorite sayings and images. We're also working toward hosting a Comic-Con style event in 2024, where some of your favorite fandoms, cast, crew, and fans alike will come together for a fun-filled weekend. You can find those announcements on our website coming at you soon. Keep watching and listening, and as always, don't forget to share and subscribe.